The story in the Nigerian Tribune is federal government reopens schools August 4th for graduating students. SS3 students begin WASC August 17th. And we have also COVID-19. Ekiti Attorney General, other unnamed cabinet members test positive. Inbound passengers to undergo COVID-19 tests. That's a statement by PTF. Extends phase 2 lockdown by 1 week. And we have Southern Kaduna IGP orders full enforcement of curfew. The Gora's defection driven by presidential ambition. That's by PDP BOT. And Northeast Southwest gets highest allocation in 162.5 billion Sukuk funds. And above the nameplate we have Buhari names railway stations after Awolowo, Tinubu, Saraki, Fashola, Jakonde, Shoyinka, Enahoro, Ikimi, and others. Military warns soldiers against mutiny revolution. And then the final story in the Nigerian Tribune this morning is troops eliminate arrest scores of bandits, rescue kidnapped victims in Northwest. And that's all we can take in the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Yeah, the enemy are the frontline burners in this particular pandemic that we are faced with. And the reason of which I want to believe they are kicking against the resumption is, if you look at we the adults, we keep hearing the increased number on daily basis. 500, 600, 700. And that's as a result of the test being carried out. There are so many people going around with that same thing that are not aware of some of those things. So enemy is saying this because certain infrastructure expected to be in place are not in place. I have my worries too. Before COVID, we have asked the government to do what is needful. It's quite pathetic that average citizens in a state provide water for themselves. You know, fundamentally, the first thing we need in this COVID period is water. You know, the number of times I wash my hand on a daily basis? Because one thing they tell you, you go out of this place, wash, because not everyone can afford a sanitizer.
Very true.
And the best ideal ways, you know, sanitizer adds some chemicals and all this. But for soap, is the normal hygiene way. How many people have water in their house? This is one of the infrastructure.
Water, another thing.
Yeah, this is one of the infrastructure that government's supposed to provide. But we provide this on our own. And discover that the schools that want to reopen today, the private sector, the private schools can have some of those things running. But how many of such do we have?
Did you say some?
Yeah. Some of those private schools that you're looking at are just somebody that actually feel that I've been retrenched and I have passion and just start up something in this locality and just come it. I'm not talking of coming to the city, coming to Ikeja. I'm talking of suburb, the Korodus, the Badagris, where people just set up a small school and you just have a student of about 30, 40. Even they themselves are not really that comfortable to have water. So we've said it times with that number. Water is just one of those things government supposed to. Those days, possibly I would say before people like us were born, our father enjoyed free water. That's when you have the likes of functionality of Lagos State Water Corporation. But as we speak, are they still there? They are not there. So you want students to resume back to school? Are you going to make provision to the principals? I'm not talking of public school. Private school, we know the parents will pay through their nose to make sure those things are provided for.
Exactly.
You know, but for the public schools, are you going to ask those guys that deliver water to deliver water to the school? Do they even have a running tap? Have you called some of those? These are things that we expect to be put in place. Some of the buildings themselves are alarming. They are alarming. We've seen pictures. People, they are alarming. So you discover that enemy are right to say, please, let's take caution. Because you see, these children, you and I, we can maintain distance. They've not seen themselves for months. The first thing you see, you can't tell them not to hug. There is nothing the teacher can do here. They are full of it's like when you are releasing a lion from the den, and you know that has been caged for long,
for a very long time.
You know the way he will be so excited to do so many things. So I think because as we speak, The government are already complaining that the isolation center is overstretched. And it is the enemy that are the frontline burner, knowing what they are facing. With the resumption of schools, teachers themselves will not be able to control it. Some teachers have not seen themselves for months. There is no gisting, there is nothing that they will be able to do. But now they are resuming. Be rest assured, we are going to break. I remember when the first ease down was made, several people never, comply with those things. They said, Tomisin, leave it to you, you can't have COVID, now you're my friend. Oh, it's been a long time. People start arguing. But you don't even know where that person has been,
who he has been in
throughout
contact with.
the period that you are on break.
Okay, let me just take you a bit on the COVID-19 rules and regulations. They have said that they have put a caveat in it that only schools that comply with the COVID-19 rules or guidelines will be allowed to resume. Which means there's going to be some sort of maybe inspection, some sort of
between next week.
No, let her finish.
Maybe, let me just try and be the devil's advocate. So maybe there's going to be some sort of inspection, some sort of regulations and all that. If they are able to put all this in place, don't you think it's going to be
Yinka, what they've not been able to put in place before COVID will now be done within a week? Let's be sincere with ourselves. What I'm saying here is that you are going to give priority to an average, a middle class person and above to write WAEC. And those children in the public school definitely will not. If we are to stick by what you're saying now, most public school will not be opened. Truth be told, most public schools will not be opened. But as we speak, some of them do. Before then, how many of them are running water?
Very good question.
Very few. Most of them go about to buy water from tanker and put. As we speak, they've been on holiday for weeks. They've not for months. They've not been coming to school.
As a matter of fact, they fetch water from the compound, church compound, very close to the school.
To the school
when they want to go to the toilet.
So, people, I was listening to a colleague yesterday and was talking about open defecation. That's still, because if you have running water in school, they do that throughput now, in schools. So if you have a running tap in the school and functional toilets, nobody will do throughputs now. You will rather queue and have those things. So you discover that the infrastructure is not in place. For me, I feel this is just for the elites, the middle class people, to come back to school and have their pupils write the exam and move on. The people in the public school, our government as we speak, have not done what is needful, and I have no reservation about it. Take sample of the schools. We can say maybe in Lagos State you can see some public school, let's say 50% that they will push and do. What do we talk of other states? We are not talking of only Lagos State resuming. We're talking of other states outside Lagos that are finding it even difficult to pay their teachers, to pay their staff, and you are now calling them to come back. Let's just agree that this is going to be open for the public, for the private schools to carry out the exam, while those in public school will come next year after COVID. Because they can't open.
It's a common exam for.
But
it's a common exam for all. But I can tell you that the public school can't come, except that the government just want to risk it. And this, the PTF has exonerated themselves as to speak. Is you have to take responsibility
for this one.
You have to take responsibility. So for parents now that will release their child, their pupils to school, you're taking responsibility.
No, but how would I? Let's assume my daughter is writing.
For example.
Tomisin's daughter is writing WAEC now.
And she has to write.
Are you saying that because, of course, naturally, like we had always said,
she's been begging.
I wouldn't have wanted.
She will beg because it's really not about the exam. It's because of her friends.
She's been begging.
She has to beg.
No, what I'm saying.
Every day I get to mommy, are we resuming? So last night when I told her, they said you people are resuming by August 4. Oh my God, the smile went this way.
Sweet.
This was
my point. The point I'm trying to raise is that as much as I would, or Tomisin would not even have wanted our child to go back to school, but something is at stake here.
Yes.
The exam is at stake here. So where do we go from here?
Yinka, let me put it this way. I just said something while we were making the introduction in a very relaxed mode. That I decided to keep away from so many stations because I want to leave to do so many other things. For Christ's sake, I don't know the age of your daughter, but do you know the kind of education we run these days? We are faster than they are not like us. That most of us finish our WAEC at age 17, 18. Some of them are at age 13,
14, 15.
14. And for Christ's sake, if for the life of that child, have we thought of what you will go through if your child goes to school all in the name of writing this particular WAEC, and it comes back with something that you need to start, running about with? Do you know the fear of just telling you that you are positive? If you don't manage yourself, it's killing. It's killing. So I've had the opportunity to say, parents, if your child is in a public school, can you, for Christ's sake, allow the child to even run this year? Most of the children that are writing this exam are not up to 16, 17. Majority are in their 12, 13, 14. So if they lose a year, nothing.
Now, don't you think that directive should come from the government now? Because for me, I see nothing. Like we were saying sometime, was it last month, we're saying that those of us that were part of the first set of this JSS, and I remember that when they were going to change, we lost almost a year. We lost 2 terms. All in the name of trying to change from
January to September,
exactly.
January to December to September.
I remember that we lost almost a year. I'm saying, don't you think that the directive should come from the government so that there will be equity on all sides?
Yeah, you see, when you look at the first time that the Minister of State for Education came with that announcement, the substantive minister came to counter it.
Yes.
And said the government school are not going to open this, blah blah blah. Say, as we speak, the pressure, even from we the followers on the government, parents, it's much more than they are just giving it. And that's why PTF came up and said, it's now your responsibility. Take responsibility for what comes out of it. Take, for example, we've heard of religious houses putting pressure on government that they want to open. If you can open the market, if you can open everywhere, why are you not opening us? So when you see government reacting, it is because of the pressure. If you have opportunity, not even in government, to lead people, when you are even taking care of some of those things about that, they don't have the full knowledge of what you're doing. They are just after what they want to do, and at that point in time, it will get to a level you like withdraw to you. Just I've agreed to what you want. So at this point, let's whether other people look at South Africa. They opened the school and the thing hiked. Look at US. Same thing was obtainable. It hiked, and everybody is forcing to say, let's go back on lockdown. Why do we? If we have those set of people as example, why do you want to go that way? I'm not an educationalist, but I've asked them this question. The number of staff in question to manage the social distancing you'll be talking of, to cover all the classes, that means you'll be bringing possibly all your staff on board.
Yes.
What is the cost implication paying them those things? What is the risk as per having everybody around? We are now talking of social distancing when the exams, when they will sit to write the exams. What becomes of those pupils before you call them into the exam hall? You know, definitely they will be reading. Clustering definitely will happen. You can't caution them. Everybody wants to read together. They want to practice and share ideas. How are you going to caution it? You see some of these children today don't even believe COVID exists. Why some of them be saying, go and use your nose and say, you leave those things. Is there anything like COVID? Is a scam? Is this? So you did have mixed feelings, just like with the adults have it. We're only talking of entering into the exam hall, going to the social distancing between them. But before then, you know the way we read those days in school. Yes. We expected to come together, share ideas. Don't forget that these children have been at home for months. Some of them are not even reading. Those online stuff that we're doing is just when the parents are there. You and I know that average student.
They were even doing something called WhatsApp classes. And I said, let us not talk about it, because for a secondary school in Lagos State that banned the use of camera phone, as a matter of fact, phones altogether.
Yeah.
Especially camera phones. And then during this COVID lockdown, you're not doing WhatsApp classes. I'm asking.
No, but it's in the comfort of their homes.
No, but what I'm saying is,
monitors it.
At what point did you ask them to buy the camera phones?
No,
Who contacted their parents and said, buy camera phones?
No, it's supposed to be just somewhere there that the parents are supposed to provide that. Everything shouldn't be.
But we were not told. Is my question. We were not told.
You see,
when they provide camera phones.
You see, the other aspect I look to it, WhatsApp is internet enabled. You have to write on that. This is where some of those children, while they were even having classes on WhatsApp, they go to YouTube and watch what they are not supposed to watch.
They send videos to each other.
Some of them send videos. There was a list of all these acronyms that I saw that they use in communicating that we parents are not aware of. I've forgotten it. They will just give the quiz. The three character might be, like you say, LUV, love you. They have those things that they already have that code, and they will put it. They pass the message to say, "Mommy is around. I'm missing you," and all those things coded, and they're having their WhatsApp classes. So I'm not against it. It's what we are supposed to do because that's what is trending all over the world. But what we have asked our government to do is let's put right infrastructure in place. You see, this COVID has opened our eyes that we need certain infrastructure. 1, power.
Yes.
2, internet. In developed world, you don't struggle to get all these things. They are just there for you to use. Even if you're going to pay for it. It's quite expensive even for parents these days to have lectures from home, in the sense that there is no power. Yes. You need to run the generator. You need to charge this thing. Most parents are just going to buy laptops, going to buy phone, with some of them already moving on 50% salary because they are working from home. So,
one last angle I'd like us to look at before we take a break from this topic and then come back. Or your state has practicalized this and it seemed to be working. But what people didn't actually notice is this. In the last 1 week, let's take a look at what your state has recorded in terms of COVID-19 cases. So, 4 days ago, Oyo recorded 87 cases. 3 days ago, Oyo was the highest in the country. Oyo recorded 191 cases. Now, right after that, Oyo recorded just 20 cases. Yes, just 20 cases. And then, last night, Oyo recorded another, I think, 53 cases. We're looking at all of this. That was 1 day ago. Last night, now, Oyo recorded, if I'm correct, about 30-something cases. That's 29 cases. Look at the number from Oyo just during this period. I'm sure that if we take proper data, we'll be able to find out the age group of the people who are being discovered in Oyo. Oyo's numbers are rising.
You see,
but people quote Oyo and say, after all, Oyo State has done it.
You see, another problem we have in this country is, and why we remain where we are, is we don't know how to. We don't have a data to work with. Some of the data we generate day by day have been dumped. Nobody analyzed, have a trend analysis to monitor and give insight into some of those things, just like we're doing. See, people can say, Oyo has opened up, and
churches have
opened. These are going this way. But the numbers we are getting is based on the tests
that are being conducted.
How many tests is being carried out? Is it as much as what Lagos State is rolling out on a daily basis?
And that's
how many test centers do they have?
And that's what is alarming.
If
they're not testing as much and they top
the chart. So if people can give an insight to this, I'm sure it will give us an eye opener. If they go saying I have like 6 test center and on a daily basis I test 1,000 and I get 190, and somebody is having just a test center and it is rolling out highest 190.
190.
Imagine if they have 4 test centers. Multiply 190 by 4, or average of 150 by 4.
So
that's about 600.
So rounding up this discussion, moving forward, what do you
recommend?
I will appeal to the government. In as much as everybody is clamoring that the school should open, the same way they pumped in money into the health sector, though the time is very short, can't we just roll out sufficient funds to make sure, even if you are not going to rehabilitate the buildings, make sure there are running tap in all the schools that will open? I'm talking of state government now. The private school, definitely they are on top of it. Parents are paid for it. But for the public schools, let government swing into action. Let's see it on air. Let them go all around. Don't just and let people confirm. Get people to confirm that this is this school in this area. Even if we are going to consolidate 2-3 schools to a school that have that facility,
okay,
let that be done. But don't let's just leave it in the hands of the principals. And it's not enough to say we are just giving them money, let them go and do it. Let's get this thing done and make sure that, you see, we are talking about the life of our children. And like they keep saying, they are the future leaders of tomorrow. These children, there is a little that you can curtail of them when they see themselves. And as we speak, every day we keep hearing this person have contacted it. Do you know the number of people they've met with? Let government put those infrastructure in place so that the resumption can be smooth, so that we'll not go into something that is greater than pandemic after the resumption. You understand? And let's take a lesson from this. COVID has come. Put infrastructure in place where we have our power sector functioning, where we have the communication this thing functioning, so that schools can operate from home. In developed world, what they've had, I've had my people over there asking, do we want to get skill or work from home? And they said that we operate from home. And that's just it. Because the infrastructure is there. It's working.
We pray we get there someday.
Why are we paying attention to the perpetrators of the crime?
You see, our government, the way and manner we operate things in this part of the world is quite interesting. And because our politicians are not always sincere, to me, let it be that you are just trying to have some set of people that you can call your own. You know, whether you like it or not, you need some of these guys when they are carrying out their election. These are the people that bring out their chest and say, no, he's my benefactor, you can't cheat him. Otherwise, I see no reason why some of those people, if they are actually confirmed that they have actually perpetrated this evil, you have killed, you have created insecurity in this part of the world. We keep advocating that let's pardon them and let them go. What do we call pardon? These people, as we speak, should face squaring squad. People, they have killed people. They've destabilized economy. You see, at times it's not until when you carry gun and you kill, of which they are doing. It's not only that. When you kill the economy of a state and you ground it to a halt where people have to live on other people, it's terrible. And these are the people you are coming out again to rehabilitate back into the system, and you are it's as good as you are celebrating them.
You're setting them up.
When you set them up, you are celebrating them, giving them kudos. You've done. People will come and say, no, but you have to pardon. Pardon what? Did they actually think deeply of some of these things where they are carrying it out? How many people will forgive some of these guys that have lost their loved ones?
Who are going to be their customers? That's my question again. When you say barbers, who are going to be their customers?
You say
the victims? Which community are they? Because the communities are even crying out and saying, don't bring them to our communities. Where are you taking them to?
They'll go to the government house. We establish a firm for them.
Let me just try and be a kind of spokesman for the NEDC right now. Don't you think that this act could be a form of something that could bring some sort of reformity, in that, with that sect. There's I want to believe that they have this. There's a certain kind of ideology that they do have that makes them, perpetrate all this act. So if there could be a kind of reform, there could be a kind of rehabilitation, and living a life of living a better life. Don't you think that this set of people could be some sort of positive influence to those that are still of same ideology? Because they have been there, they know better, they understand why those people are doing this.
Should we then give them this amount of money?
They should be able to relate better to their colleagues or their former colleagues. Don't you think that is the angle at which the NDC is looking at it from?
I will not take it on that. The question I will first ask: what is the percentage of the people that we are calling repentant?
601.
601. What is the number of those people that are actually terrorists? They run hundreds of thousands in that locality. You are just bringing out 600 to say you are rehabilitating, and you are giving them the attention from the taxpayers' money. It's really uncalled for. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to look as if I'm hard, but they've been hard on us. We've lost life. We've lost, as we speak in that state, there is nothing called, economic activities. In fact, the IDPs has necessitated the fact that we've had increased population in that area.
Exactly.
Because people are not working. Yes. All they do is stay with each other, and they keep, fulfilling the scripture in Genesis, multiplying and flourishing.
Rape is thriving in the IDP
in the IDPs.
The little girls in the IDP camps are exchanging sex
for money,
food, for a plate of noodles.
You understand?
The food the government even takes there, people who are supposed to be in charge
are giving them that.
They take advantage of all of that. And I just look at 12 million. No, because I did I like money.
The case of the IDP camp is a story for another day.
20,000 naira, Yinkakenny.
Multiplied by 600.
It's 12 million and 20,000. Generator would cost like 30,000. Let's say it's a better past my neighbor.
See,
you're looking at about another 15 million.
I'm just as far
plus playing for shop.
Personally, I see them just trying to make a camp for themselves to say, these are my people for next election. It's my personal view. Otherwise, those guys has caused enough harm to the state.
So would you rather that to these people they have come out to say that we're putting down the ammunition?
What necessitated it? That's the question I will ask.
Somebody
who has been there. We've been fighting this for over 10 years. Somebody has been in a particular something for years, indoctrinated, and he had that belief. And all of a sudden you're saying you are laying down your stuff. I heard you the other time saying that the Niger Delta militants, they went for reformation. Same thing was applicable. An average Nigerian taxpayer, none of us could travel abroad with a family, but some of those people were sent there to go and get the best of education and come back. I always ask myself, if we have good governance, there won't be anything like militants
in the first place.
There won't be anything like terrorism. We know definitely if you have all those basic infrastructure in place and you decide to go into that,
wouldn't have even risen up in the first place.
You understand? But if you choose to, there are times you give every comfort that is needed, but
and people still end up misbehaving.
But at that point in time, you are ready to face the consequence. You create unrest in an environment, will make you to unrest. We will give you that comfort.
So what would you recommend as a better way of, now the government said they have an established process of rehabilitating the terrorists and they've done that. What would you recommend as an alternative to giving them all of this money, paying for shop and all of that? What would you give?
Rather than, I don't want to see anything like saying you are rehabilitating people. If they are terrorists, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that you are rehabilitating anybody. Except if he's a terrorist that has never killed. if he's trained to carry gun, once he's not getting that comfort you are giving to him today, he'll resort back to whatever he's doing. And that would be more alarming and more
for us as a country.
You know, as a country. So by then, if care is not taken, he would have come back to the environment, understudy what is actually going on, and from there know how to go back, and he will be more equipped to deal with you as a state.
Because now he even understands how you think.
The fact is, if you get a terrorist that has caused damage, give them to firing squad and let's end them. When we eliminate them out of our system, those that are there is nothing like reforming them.
Just like America would say they don't negotiate with terrorists.
No, but I had an interesting call from Maiduguri yesterday while I was on radio talking about the same thing. Somebody was watching on Instagram and called somebody who was in Maiduguri to contribute. And this young man said to me, I am in the army and we are not even treated as good as this terrorist you're talking about. And he said, what if you are now doing this? Don't you think you are encouraging the people who are leaving the army to go that same way?
That's exactly what I said now. Because if you look at it, that if you come to terrorists and after a few years, you know,
pardon you
and bring you back into the system, you would have made your impact there. You would have wasted life and make the state ungovernable, and we'll still absorb you back and we'll set you up, possibly send you to US to go and study. You know, that's the only way you can get me out of this country. We are encouraging what is not. Terrorism, like you said, US won't negotiate for it. A serious-minded country won't negotiate. Because what we've read, what we've seen, is that they are disarming people, making them to leave their houses, kill them. You see a family
destroying the houses, burning it down,
and they will finish everybody. They will finish 4, they will finish 3, and people live in that trauma for years. And somebody is saying, I've repented. See, if we understand that whatever you do in that aspect, you face firing squad. Once you kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, everybody will just be careful. If I'm caught, it's death. But when you say, if you are caught and you repent, we will accept you into the system, it's not something I want to encourage. It's not good for our system. And if all the government should stand up to this, some of the people that are being rehabilitated today, they will leave their state and filter into some other states. We should discourage this, and it will pose security threat. Somebody is living Maiduguri as an unrepentant terrorist, and tomorrow find his way to Lagos, and he's not enjoying those things that are possibly somebody,
the government obviously would do that.
Of course won't do that, and he's seeing himself struggling, and you see that, okay, I think there is little insecurity here in this part of the state. Let me just perpetrate my act. Because he has the understanding, he knows the in and out of some of those things, he will succeed in carrying it out, and you will not even know. Somebody can pretend for years to be an older person, all in the name of getting at you, and when he eats at you, it's going to be hard. These guys have the knowledge of what terrorism is all about.
All about already.
And all we need from them is, rather than pardoning them, finish them. Let's end them. So that such knowledge died with them.
Capital punishment.
Yes, such thing will die with them, rather than even giving them. See, those things that were taught in school 20, 30 years ago, if you pick up your child's book, this day you can still have a refresher course of theirs. Oh, this is how we do algebra. I remember those days, board mass, you know. And you know, in years you've done that.
Yes.
It's same that is applicable. You are trained to kill. Even if you have left that path for years.
That's the power of recall now.
If you have the opportunity to carry that same thing again, you will finish it.